It's week number 21 of my cut, and at the moment I'm 11 kilos down. Started off the cut when I ended my bulk at 82.5-ish kilos. This morning I was 71, but we already touched like 70.4 lowest body weight earlier in the week. Unfortunately, this week was fucked. It was absolutely fucked, and that's what I wanted to actually talk about in today's video. That things don't really go to plan, which is why all the time a lot of people come in thinking that they are meant to be perfect every single week. Consistency is portrayed on social media as you ticking off all of the boxes every single day, every single week, and you have to be perfect all the time. That's not really what consistency is in my eyes. Consistency means that you have to try to tick off most boxes majority of the time as often as possible, right? So what are the boxes that I'm trying to tick on a day-to-day basis in terms of my cut? I have a step goal of 15k per day. I have 4 workouts per week to hit, and I have 1650 calories per day. Those would be the basic things that I have to hit. And if you want to dig a little bit deeper into those, when it comes to my training, obviously I have to make sure that I am super focused and I'm giving my 100% every single time that I'm stepping into gym. Little things like that too. But overall, those would be the 3 main things that as long as I do those consistently, I'll see my end result. I always talk about the importance of not making excuses, because if a goal is really important for you, and if you've been struggling with fat loss for a very long time, which is not the case for me, but I have this goal of reaching photo shoot conditioning by the end of the year, and that's very important for me. So I have to do anything and everything actually in my power to get there. So whenever I feel like slowing down, I have to ask myself, do I want to get fucking conditioned, shredded as fuck for the photo shoot, or do I just make the excuse and risk not being as shredded as I want to be? So there's always a trade-off. I can make an excuse one day and then sort of move on with it, but it will cost me my conditioning by the end of the cut. With that being said, there are extreme circumstances that can come up in people's lives, and that's something that I faced this week. So my energy levels are already starting to kind of drop from the day that I dropped my calories to 1650, which is 2 weeks ago. And literally from the day that I dropped them, my performance, not a lot, but like for the first time in my cut, I felt my performance go down by at least about 5%, which is fairly decent given that I have been cutting for the last 20 plus weeks, and a lot of people complain literally from week 1 of their cut, but like I know that's not the case. You always have to try to push yourself mentally and not give in to this stupid mentality that as soon as you're cutting, your strength goes down. That's not the case. If anything, I hit so many PRs during my cut, which motivates me to look forward for my bulk, which will be pretty soon after I finish my cut, where I'll have way more carbs in me, way more energy in me, so that I can hit even more PRs. Regardless of whether you're cutting or bulking, in my opinion, you should always be training as if you're bulking. So you have to always push yourself no matter what. But anyway, I felt a little drop in performance, not with all of my movements, but in some movements like my dumbbell press. I usually use 42.5, it dropped to 40. That's the only movement that I can really think of. I think everything else was pretty much maintained or slightly progressed. So until this week, Tuesday, everything was flowing smoothly, flawlessly. Calories have been on point 10 out of 10 of the times in the last 20 plus weeks. My steps have been on point most of the time. I would say 90% of the time. My training, of course, I have never missed a training session, not just in my cut. I can't remember the last time that I have missed a training session, if I'm being honest with you, even when I'm traveling. So this Wednesday, for the first time in my life, it was my rest day, I decided, let me go and try out the recovery facility at the gym. They just newly opened their recovery facility where they have a sauna, an ice plunge, a hot tub, and a steam room. And obviously in Melbourne, we don't really have gyms that have all 4, and I have never really been into recovery stuff, but I wanted to give it a go because my body was feeling absolutely cooked. But something that I didn't take into consideration was that since I have never done these things before, my body is not used to it, so I shouldn't really push these things for too long of a duration. So I did the sauna for about, my God, bro. I swear these flies You open the door for like 5 seconds and they just come in from the tiniest gap, and then they can't leave. Even if you open the whole fucking thing, they can't leave. Anyway, I did the sauna for about 15 minutes, and then I went into the ice plunge. I think it was about 2 minutes. That's the longest I could last in there. And then straight away went into the hot tub. I didn't do the steam room, hot tub, and I stayed there. I didn't time it. I think I stayed in it for at least 15 minutes. Generally, between each of them, you're supposed to take a shower and cool down. But the shower, for some reason, they were doing some maintenance work, so it wasn't working. So I couldn't do that. Maybe because of that, I felt it a bit more because it was too sudden of a change in body temperature. But I felt absolutely wrecked after I did that. And I came home and I felt sick. I had work to finish as well, but so cooked. And I rarely feel that way. I had to go to bed, laid down, I had chills, I had like a fever, and I was feeling that headache, everything. So Bax quickly called her mom, who's a doctor, and she said probably what's happening is, since I did all of these contrast therapy thing at the gym, my body is not used to it, so it's trying to regulate the temperature. And that's why I'm feeling all of these things. And on top of that, I had, let's put it out there, I had diarrhea and I was feeling cooked. I had to eat a little bit more because I had zero energy whatsoever. And basically, to make sure that the whole stomach situation doesn't get worse and to solidify my bowels, let's call them, I had to eat a little bit of extra rice. And I did that. So for the first time in my cut, I went over by, not a lot, 150 calories. Annoying as fuck, but it had to be done. So this is a perfect example that things don't always go smooth. Instead of 15k steps, I did 10k steps. I didn't have a session, it was a rest day, so nothing to say about the workout. But in terms of my calories, I went up by 150. But is 150 really that bad? Honestly, no. So it's nothing huge for us to stress about. So Wednesday, let's say it was gone, it was not the worst. Now Thursday was a very important day, and I was so frustrated because I had a training session scheduled in with Jackson Pierce. Some of you may know him. He is huge in the fitness industry. I've been looking up to him for like the last 5 years. I look at him as a role model. He's very motivating. And I've been to so many events where he used to be a speaker, and now I train at his gym, and I got to know him, and it was an opportunity of a lifetime basically. And I was cooked. I wanted to make sure that I would be strong enough so that I could perform really well. Luckily, I woke up in the morning feeling better. Still not 100%, but better. Went to the gym and got my session done. This day, right after the session, I was feeling done. I was gone. Now, what happened on Thursday is another example on how consistency doesn't mean you have to tick off all of the boxes. I did my session, so the workout box is ticked. I gave it my all, so that's all good. Steps. After the session, I was knocked out. Like I just had to stay in bed. I was gone. My stomach was hurting. My energy levels were drained. So my steps were 4,000 for that day. Normally it has to be 15,000. So that box was not ticked. Next, in terms of nutrition, similar to Thursday, I had to have around 150 extra calories. Again, because of the stool issue, because my stomach was still not okay. So my message today basically is, instead of chasing this fake perfection that's portrayed online through these reels of people working out and these montages where people say things about discipline, consistency, try to tick off as many boxes as you can, as often as you can, and you will get closer and closer and closer to your goal. It's okay to not be perfect, but it's not okay to make excuses.